Listen, I don't know how to tell the difference between pork barrel spending in the past and like large infrastructure projects that helped people who voted for people. Like, isn't that how politics is supposed to work? You just pay people for their vote by giving them an actual functioning government.
Yeah.
That's corrupt government. And honestly, when they take our precious Space Force and turn it into the Public Spaces Force, I will be at the front of the protest.
I got a few bodies I'd like to put in space.
There are a few bodies I'd like to put in space.
Psychic Dolphin Garage.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode from the Psychic Dolphin Garage. I am Zach, and my pronouns are he and they.
I'm Dennis, he, they as well.
I'm Charlie, she, her.
And we are joined by a fantastic guest. We have Brynn. Brynn, how are you doing?
I'm all right.
And
oh, sorry, yeah, she and they.
Fantastic. We have surrounded Charlie with non-binary pronouns.
Good. This is all I've been working on for years.
Years of investment. Years of stonks into the non-binary corporation that rules everyone and is headed by George Soros, of course.
The ROI on these pronouns is going to be so quality.
Hell yeah. So we have a really cool episode planned. This is, of course, as you know, the Psychic Dolphin Garage brand goes, kind of the intersection of. We are an intersectional podcast, so the intersection of technology, of education, of culture, of politics, of the society that we live in, and we get to talk about Brynn's story. Brynn is here to tell us a little bit about their high school. She travels every morning to the Hellmouth, to the anal fissure. That is the public education system as it has been subsumed by every defense corporation, because the only investments that education gets these days is from the imperial core entity that runs the entire United States. So here we are, getting to hear from someone who is kind of on the ground.
We all went to high school in a different age when things were bad, and the biggest boogeyman was standardized testing and how many they made us take. I assume they still make you take just as many, but now it's worse.
I believe it's slightly more.
Does not surprise me.
Yeah, it depends on the state and the district, but
well, yeah, we have the district diagnostic tests, we have the state exams. The state ones are only every few years, and then you got your standard national ones, your SAT, your PSAT. They start us on the PSAT in 8th grade.
Holy
we take
shit.
it 8, 9, and 10. It's ridiculous.
Wow.
Or excuse me, 7th grade. My bad. 7, 8, 9, and 10.
Holy crap! I didn't touch that until high school.
yeah, and I had to pay like $80 for it.
Yeah, did they still make you pay for it?
No, but that's because I'm in Douglas County, the 7th wealthiest county by per capita measure in the United States.
Yeah, I went to a poor high school, and it was also one of the lowest performing high schools in the state of California. Hey-o!
Hey!
Oh my goodness. Well,
how lovely.
There's 50 different states. We've all experienced 50 different sets of standardized tests, because why have a coherent education system?
Exactly.
And I was homeschooled, so I was educated even outside of this system. So I just got all of the Protestant and reactionary garbage without any of the really good educational bits. So
yeah, you didn't even learn about evolution until after college.
They called it old Earth creationism. Instead of combating evolution head on, they just said, no, God did evolution, and that was what we got. So
yeah, okay.
I mean, fair enough, I suppose.
Evolution is mostly real. It was all God, though.
Listen, it got you where you are today, surrounded by all these pronouns.
Gosh, don't get homeschooled, kids. It's not worth it.
Just run away from home.
Not even once.
So, Brynn, you live in the 7th, per capita, 7th richest county in the nation or the state?
in the nation. And with that, it's not like Manhattan where, all that money is heavily concentrated at the very top. Most people who live here are, either in the sort of professional managerial class or, own significant amounts of capital. Everyone who lives here, more or less, has a lot of money.
This is the upper middle class.
This
Yes,
is the upper middle
yes.
class. Yeah, it's the American dream. You have your large house with a pool, a car for your husband, your spouse, your various driving children, and everybody gets together at the end of the week and has a cookout in someone's backyard because the whole block can fit in their backyard.
Yeah.
In my part of Douglas County, at least, they don't have pools in the backyards. We have actually very nice community centers. But that's, of course, because, there's no pores around to contaminate them.
Ooh, wow.
Yeah.
That probably extends, having actual public services in, these wealthy communities extends, to everything from the grocery stores and the food that you have access to, the restaurants that are around, the education that you're getting and presumably will get, continuing forward.
Yeah. And with that, before we get into any more polemicizing, I would like to preface this that, yes, the education I am fortunate enough to receive is superb. For example, my computer science teacher is leaving the school so he can develop, computer science programs for the state of Colorado, right? And for one of the community colleges here and a few other institutions. That's what we're talking about here. My school is just being used as a model for better or worse.
Better
but in
and
terms
worse.
of education, yes. In terms of educational quality, I do receive a superb education. I'm fortunate enough to have not just that, but an amazing community of students and teachers at my school. However, it is still nonetheless a wretched, godforsaken institution.
Much like the rest of society, where God forsakes, we pick up and make a really great community in its place. You just have to meet, like, all of the awful people who run the world there every day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, so as good as the education that you're getting may be, because it's, tailored to each student, we understand all the different things that make schools good, right? Like the campus is nice, the teachers are well paid, the classes are not.
the campus is
overly
shit.
packed. Well, all right. So the teachers are well paid, and
No.
the classes are like normal size, a manageable size.
The
for
classes
teachers?
are manageable size.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
they're
okay.
decent sizes.
I'm curious, what is considered a decent size for a class these days?
Well, I could tell you this because I'm getting into like public education as a potential vocation. In California, we have a law that no high school should have more than 32 students per teacher. However, the average class size in California is 35 students.
I was gonna say, because I come from a family of teachers, and when I was younger, it was like, you start exceeding like 22, 23 students, and it's getting to be chaos. And by the time it's like now, I'm just like, it's got to be up to like 30 or 40 now, right?
Yep.
What is it at your school?
Well, I believe the actual ideal number from, the National Education Association is 15 to 22. if
Yeah,
I'm
that sounds
remembering
right.
Yeah.
But at my school, it depends on the class, of course, but it's about that. I actually know it's probably more like, 19 to 27 in like only a handful of, like for example, AP classes that only have one class period for it rather than multiple, so they have to cram them all in. But otherwise, it's generally classes are just over 20 people.
Wow, that's really nice. So all that money does get you at least teachers who are not like totally overworked by piles and piles of students, unless of course those students it's actually interesting. The higher you intend to achieve, the worse your classroom size gets.
And they are overworked in other ways. The school is
Sure.
very into micromanagement, extremely.
Yeah.
That's why we have a very high turnover rate.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wish I knew the number. I unfortunately don't. But we lose, let's see. For example, my class, the class of 2022, I think we have, 120 students.
Whoa, that's so small.
Yeah, the other high school classes are, about that size. Maybe.
Yeah, I had a couple. I think I had a couple hundred, almost like 300. It was one of the biggest classes in the history of my district.
Wow. I think ours
We
was
do-
like at least 1,200, if I remember right.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, we have smaller cities that are close together, so we have like tons
That's true.
and tons of high schools. Like
That's true. We
whereas,
had
like you Yeah.
We had one high school for the whole suburb.
Yeah, that we are my city had 2 high schools. So our crosstown rival was literally just the other school in the district.
Yeah, but with that, we may only have, 100 and some odd kids in each high school class, but the school is K through 12. So in the building next door, there's, 600, 700 elementary schoolers, about that many middle schoolers also. Luckily, I don't have to be around any of those irritating creatures. We're pretty sort of secluded in our building / part of a building. The school is like a warehouse and an office building that have been conjoined together, had the loading bays ripped out, a second floor, shoved into the warehouse, it's a series of other janky improvements.
Wow, surprisingly not as nice as I had always imagined.
Well, that's because they spent all the money on like $20,000 or $30,000 laser cutter and shit like that.
And administrators, and a person to run the laser cutter.
Oh, the executive director makes like $300,000.
Jesus!
Oh my
Jesus
gosh.
Christ! I thought the principals in my district were getting away with.
That's not the principal.
Yeah, we don't have like That's the thing is like our school doesn't have administration. It has administration, but that is like basically just like the principal.
Right. You're officially in
Yeah.
a charter school, are you not?
Right.
Yeah, it's a public charter. We get about, 70 to 80% of the funding from the county and the state, and then the rest comes from Lockheed, Northrop Grumman, Boeing, the Gates Foundation, the typical cast of characters.
Which is kind of getting at the meat of the issue here is that, we wanted to talk to you about the sort of corporatization of your school. I've seen it, like I said, I've been studying to get into education, so I've kind of seen it firsthand. I'm looking back at the district that I grew up in, and it's like we've had to close schools because there's no funding, people aren't having kids, but we did get a nice chunky grant from the Gates Foundation. But charter schools, my school was a public, and my school district is a public district. Your charter schools are a whole different beast, and basically the consensus is that no one likes charter schools except for charter schools.
Well, yeah, there is an important distinction to make, though, in that you do have the difference between public and private charters,
Right.
Which in Colorado actually means something. In other states, it doesn't really mean anything. But
Not so
here,
much.
it actually does mean quite a great deal. The school has its own board of directors, and so it has a decent amount of autonomy from Douglas County School District. However, if DCSD wanted to, they could easily rein in the school. But every time that they've been presented with that, for example, after the shooting, when some revelations came out so the shooting happened in May 2019. Apparently in December 2018, a parent of a high school senior, one of the kids who shot up the school, by the way, was a high school senior. A parent of a high school senior worried that the school was going to be shot up. They called anonymously the county, tip line, and the school district called up my school. They called up S.T.E.M. They said, "Hey, this is a big problem. We heard from this parent who reported it anonymously that the school has a very toxic, highly competitive environment. Competitive, really, only academically. In other respects, not so much.
In the respect that drives people to, I don't know, that, like, what they call that, going postal, where they put you in a work environment so competitive and pressure intensive it causes you to shoot it up.
Oh Christ, I was unfamiliar with that term.
Yeah, that was from the 80s when the Postal Service was an absolute hellscape.
Ah, gotcha. Yeah. So what the school's response was to the school district saying, "Hey, this is an issue that a parent's calling in the tip line saying that the school might get shot up," the response from the school was to file suit in the county court demanding that, I believe it was AT&T, provide the call record so that way the school could then press on with a defamation lawsuit.
Against the person who made the tip, the anonymous tip.
Yeah. Keep in mind, this tip was not made public until after the shooting when journalists descended upon Highlands Ranch. And I believe, one of them just did the standard thing of, going to the county courthouse in Castle Rock and saying, filing a Colorado Open Records Act request, for everything related to S.T.E.M. And then out came this.
Jesus
Christ.
So you're telling me your school's response to hearing it was going to be shot up was to try desperately spend tens of thousands of dollars trying to file suit against the person who said it was going to be shot up?
I'm not sure if there was any money involved. I have to double check that.
This is sternly worded letters from a lawyer stuff.
Well, more than that, the attorneys who were doing this for the school, unfortunately I can't recall their names, but they are libertarian activists from Colorado Springs.
Oh no. Yeah, Colorado Springs, for those of you out there who don't know, that's the place Focus on the Family lives. That's the place that, what else is there? There's a lot. It's there's like a Fountainhead office park outside of it or some shit.
Great. I love Focus on the Family. You know, the two former CEOs are now married to each other because they stopped being not gay anymore. They stopped being ex-gay.
Wonderful.
I think Focus on the Family is that, and they're like Catholic or something. It's like a big Catholic thing.
I don't even know. I don't even know what they believe in. I just know what they hate.
Don't quote me on that one, but I'm pretty sure it's Focus on the Family is the one where the two like leads on the board fell in love with each other and were like, oops, we're gay still.
I just love the concept.
God.
I love the concept of like a tip line as like a honeypot operation to fucking
Right? What the fuck is that?
Oh my god.
I mean, that's always been my theory on the one that they tell us students to call Safe to Tell, aptly nicknamed by the student body Safe to Snitch. I've always thought it was a honeypot scheme.
I mean, it kind of sounds like it.
I mean, if
given
All the kids in the school know.
Yeah. If the rest of the state structure exists to make sure that the school can sue you and make money off of that, then, you know, it feels like there's some sort of collaboration happening between the school and the state to make up for budget that the state just can't give them because the Gates Foundation is giving them too much money already. I don't know.
I'm not sure that's how the fiscal restraints necessarily function, but I should add an autist, and my thing that I'm into, among others, is bureaucracy. So that's why I go off on saying phrases like fiscal restraint rather than something normal.
I should note, like, I mean, you're incredibly talented in this respect. The reason we know each other is because we met through the DSA, and you fucking, like, managed my campaign for Congress, and like the reason my policy page was so goddamn good and detailed, probably one of the best in the country, is because you wrote it. Like,
thank you.
I genuinely mean this. You probably had one of the best policy platforms of anyone who ran for office in the entire coury. Easily.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it.
I just want people to understand how fucking good at this you are.
being a nerd about things is good, actually.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. That's another thing. We got a lot of either diagnosed or, the undiagnosed, but autists at S.T.E.M, among with a litany of other, what's the term, mental disorders? Is that the right thing? I don't know.
I don't know what they want to call it. Neurodivergence?
Yeah, that's the politically correct term.
That seems better.
Yeah, we have a great deal of neurodivergent folks, and probably like most of the high school is like non-straight, at least, right? Like, everybody's bisexual, more or less.
The kids are all right, as they say.
Sexuality is uncool.
As it should be.
Exactly.
Yeah, it certainly does feel that way. It's like, y'all are just realizing that heterosexuality is a mistake, and it should be abolished.
Yeah, we have a lot of trans kids, too. That's one of the reasons why I figured this shit out myself in the last couple of years, was because I was fortunate enough to be around so many classmates and friends who were also trans, or who are also trans.
Now, I have a question, because I went to when I went to high school, it was a much different time, but I was out in high school, and now I know that there are, about 24 or so other gay people that were in high school with me. There was only maybe about 3 of us who were out. We actually did have one out transgender girl too, which was very shocking.
At the time, that's pretty cool. I sure as fuck wasn't out in high school.
In 2008 or so. But I want to ask, do you think it's because of, I mean, like, we all know that, like, liberalism and the corporations that fund your school more or less operate as, like, pseudo-liberal, or actually fully, like, neoliberal entities. Liberalism, like, like encourages diversity. Do you think that the school itself has kind of created a safe environment for that because of its like praise of neoliberalism, or do you feel like it's still kind of like not totally the safest thing to be queer at school?
It's very safe to be queer at school. This sort of diversity, being cultivated by neoliberalism, I wouldn't necessarily say that really exists at all at STEM, right? Like, I believe if you look at the racial demography of the school, it's like 65 or something like that percent white. Then I want to say 15 or 20% Asian, right? So from all of Asia. And then the rest is just like, I believe we have, I don't know, like 5 black kids in all the high school.
That sounds like this high school I went to just because of like how they segregate housing.
Yeah, I was going to say, this sounds like just Colorado suburbs to me.
Yeah, it absolutely
That's a very good point.
Like, man, we had like no white kids at school. There was like, 40 white kids at school. Everyone else was like either Mexican or Filipino.
I don't know whether or not and Brynn, you can correct me on this, but I'm not sure if we could actually like tie a line between a sort of like, neoliberalism professing belief in diversity. Although I will say, like, when I was in high school, like, teachers could get away with making fun of you for being queer, even in like 2005 and 6. So I feel like that part might have changed, or at the very least, like, because they are so litigious, and it's of note, this school has its own attorneys and shit that are just like on a team waiting to crush people. So like there may be some degree of that, like teachers are like, I ain't touching that shit. If like kids want to come out, I'm not going to say anything, even if I disagree. You know what I mean? Like maybe actually that thing right wingers actually respond to, which is like, yeah, they'll force you to sit in a diversity training, whether you like it or not, even if it's not useful.
Actually, yeah, there's not really any tie at my school between like the sort of, ideological project and the, sort of gender and sexuality demography.
The world is just better.
Yeah, the world is just better. And really what it is that, let's say you are a nerd in elementary or middle school. You are most likely, or at least in my experience, bullied, marginalized, whatever, right? Apparently that's not the thing anymore, according to my friends at the public high schools near me. But nonetheless, when I was smaller, I was bullied and marginalized for being a fucking weirdo. And with that, I just think there's a high correlation between like people who were marginalized for being nerds and people who, then in high school or middle school come out as trans or bi or gay or whatever.
Right, you're saying because of the specific demographics of like, we want to cultivate the next leaders of the world at your school, we're going to pick from all like the nerds and the marginalized folks and just like funnel them into like the professional managerial class molding system, which also incidentally means that it's going to be a very queer environment, because like thinking different when you're young means probably thinking different when you're older.
Yeah, I can imagine that your school probably maybe didn't specifically like cultivate a queer friendly environment, but they sure as hell really like the fact that you all are queer, and that means Raytheon's gonna have nuclear warheads with rainbows on them or something.
Oh my god!
Yeah,
it's the perfect liberal environment is what they've made. They've made this little bubble, this little self-contained, self-perpetuating thing that just turns out, a bunch of little scientists everything.
It's not so much that they're specifically trying to cultivate any sense of diversity. I think the thing that everyone's reacting to is this idea that like, okay, so we are building a world where you can be a trans drone operator. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, a trans drone engineer.
Engineer. You're right. I'm sorry. It starts in school now.
Yeah. Like they didn't intend on making a bunch of Charlotte climbers, but they're not upset that they've accidentally essentially made a bunch of Charlotte climbers.
Oh God.
And the absurdity of this fact is what brings us here, because they shattered the
glass ceiling?
The rainbow ceiling.
They shattered the rainbow ceiling, and all that we found at the top was more violence systemic to the American project.
Yeah.
Yeah. On a macro level, yes. However, admissions are determined by a lottery system. There's no admissions criteria other than just like you put your name in the lottery They can't look at your grades, when you apply or anything like that. It's
good.
purely just
I mean,
chance.
given my understanding of charter schools, that's definitely a fucking lie.
It is overseen by the state, though, so I don't know.
I mean, I don't trust Colorado.
I mean,
I don't.
But it's not
I will
just
say
that,
I don't trust one of the most historically hyper conservative school districts. Like, they are truly the end all be all of like, what if we just gutted the entire school district of money and like made a libertarian paradise? Like, that is that school district. And like, what happened to my mom's school district that she works in was like literally modeled after what if we got a bunch of arch conservatives into the position of school board to gut Douglas County.
What if we made a school district BioShock?
Yeah.
I mean, hey, the firearms are there.
Yeah. But like, from my understanding of the history of charter schools, because I was looking into potentially getting a job in a charter school, because you need to have a bunch of experience before going and getting a teaching credential in California. You have to have tons of hours of experience. More or less the way that charter schools operate, and this is kind of under the table, but one of the reasons why they can continue to say that they have some of the highest performing students and the highest grades is because they kind of just go ahead and ignore the failing students and maybe just say, oh, you're not really fitting in with the culture of the school, and they can kick you out very easily.
Oh, yeah.
Which also then, it then also leads to very white schools, or in many cases, like very white and Asian schools, because these populations tend to be in more high income brackets in many districts. So that means that their previous education was already very good. So it's it's a pretty insidious cycle, which is why I know that you say that the school has a blind lottery, but I have some skepticism about that.
I would argue it's worse than what you're laying out, though. I would say that it is a blind lottery. However, the people who apply in the first place, I think that's where they get you.
Yeah.
Because to even know about the school, right? Like, you probably already, you make a six-figure salary, right? Maybe you're an engineer or yourself or some shit like that.
My guess is that maybe the two big languages that their advertising is in are probably English and standardized Chinese, but there's probably not much in Spanish, I'm going to guess.
It's all English, because most of the sort of, Asian in the broadest sense, students are from India, Bangladesh, and Pakistan.
Okay. See, over here we have giant Chinese populations, and actually the school that I sort of work for, I don't directly work for them, but I am the place that I work for is contracted with them. Their advertising is in English, Korean, and Chinese, and they do a lot of advertising outside of the United States. Almost nothing in Spanish, which is very interesting.
Yeah, they don't really advertise much, so I think it's like I said earlier, you have to know about it.
So
if
yeah,
you know someone.
it's a speakeasy. The school's a speakeasy.
Jesus, it's so they're just trying to keep a low profile, but it sounds like they can't really do that because they keep just stumbling over their own ass to do all sorts of terrible PR for themselves. Will you please continue telling us more about?
Yes, please.
Alrighty, okay. So, alright. This is a problem across all parts of education, administrators not really giving a fuck about when kids are sexually assaulted. However, at my school, if you're a rapist or whatever, one of the things that can keep you protected from any sort of consequences is, if you're like one of the stars on the robotics team or in TSA, Technology Student Association, not the Transportation Security Administration.
So they start early, the like veiled child protecting you from consequences because you're supposed to be the next master of the universe.
Yeah.
This is just the nerdiest fucking football team star bullshit I've ever experienced.
Yes.
Yeah,
we don't have football. We have TSA and we have robotics. We're one of the top schools in the country for it. We dominate the competitions. We dominate the local, the state, and the national ones. Even international they've done well at. But so yeah, exactly. But anyways, as I was saying, one particular anecdote of which I know somewhat decent amount about was when I was in, I don't know, how many years ago was this? I believe around the time I was in like 7th, 8th grade. And I'm a junior now, so I'm bad at math, so I don't know how many years ago that was. I go to a STEM school and yet I can't do math. Maybe that's because I'm queer.
Yeah.
Who knows?
I mean, we say that in America. I actually do know a lot of queer people that can do math, but they're just not in America. I think there's like an Americanism thing to it, but that's a different story.
That's a better explanation. But when I was in 7th, 8th grade, I didn't learn about this till I think freshman year or something. There was a guy who, he graduated as a part of, I think, the class of 2019. He preyed upon at least 6 girls, ranging from 7th grade to, the sophomore class, right? So everything from his own age down to fucking middle schoolers this guy was preying on. Mm-hmm. And with that, when several people, reported this to the then vice principal, thankfully she is no longer at my school, she told a friend of mine that she made it up. Naturally. She made it up, she was hysterical. And with that, it doesn't matter what the opinion of the vice principal is. They have a statutory obligation to report it, even if they don't, have anything more than just someone coming forward. Someone coming forward, it's legally mandatory for them to call the sheriff's office and for a police report to be drafted, etc., so on, an investigation opened. And they chose not to do that, and they also chose to just do nothing about the perpetrator's presence. Yes, rapist, thank you, at the school. Until 6 or 7 girls came forward together to bully the school into kicking this kid out. And he was kicked out eventually, but it took 6 girls and their families. That's the more important part in terms of, how this actually happens in the institution.
It took a lot of rich families bearing down on the school and being like, we can also afford lawyers. There are 7 of us.
Yes.
We only have to afford 1 lawyer.
Really good one.
Yeah. I believe there's also, while we're on the topic of lawyers, I believe there's also a series of disability-related lawsuits against my school. I know there was, I can say for sure that there have been dozens of, complaints and shit
Internal
filed
complaints?
with no, not necessarily internal, but filed with the State Department of Education and the county.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and the school have had to make changes in how they do things like 504 plans, IEPs, that sort of thing.
For people who don't know, that's specifically individualized education plan, correct?
That's what IEP is, yeah. And 504 is just it's accommodations. That's what it's for.
A sheet of paper that says why you're different, so the school can't bully you into being normal completely.
Exactly. Sorry, where was I? Oh, 504 is disability.
Yeah. The number of complaints and or possibly lawsuits.
Yeah, I know for a fact that there is, in addition to that, litigation against the school. I believe they're in arbitration or some shit like that. I don't know.
They're in arbitration because in order to join the school, you probably have to waive your right to a trial, at least initially, before you're allowed to go to trial.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good point. I never thought about that part.
Almost certainly.
Probably true.
You have to waive your right to a jury trial when you rent a place these days. Almost all contracts are mandate arbitration before trial.
There are limitations to what contracts from public entities can impose, though. So
yes,
I don't know. I'll have to look into
that.
It
is not one of those things they are not allowed to impose, though. They are absolutely allowed to say before you go to jury trial, you have to go through our arbitration system.
Interesting.
Again, the anal fissure of a thing that is
corporatism.
That is corporatism, and also the way that charter schools work. There's so much wrapped up in this. This is crazy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Layers upon layers.
Hey everybody, this is Charlie in post. Now, I took a look for the STEM school charter itself, and I'm sure it's available for some member of the public to see, or maybe it's something that students can receive. I don't know. There's a legal process involved. Fuck it. I tried to figure out whether or not arbitration was a thing you're actually forced to do. I did, however, find the sample charter that the Colorado Association of Charter School Authorizers, who, as exhausting as you think they are, suggest you use. So this contract is between the school district and the school. That's who the charter is between. So if the school breaches contract or law in some way that the school district feels it should take action on, this is how it goes. Such dispute shall be first submitted to the president of the school board and the superintendent of the district. Thereafter, representatives of the district and the school shall meet and make good faith effort to negotiate a resolution of the dispute. In the event the parties are unable to resolve the dispute pursuant to the procedure set forth, the parties shall submit the matter to an independent mediator, who shall be agreed upon by the parties within 15 calendar days following either party's written request for mediation. If the parties are unable to agree upon a mediator within that time, the parties shall jointly obtain a list of available mediators from the Judicial Arbiter Group in Denver, Colorado. They will then cross one name off the list, return the list to the party that got it. And they will cross a name off, and then you'll pass it back and forth until all the names have been crossed off, and the remaining person is the mediator. Section D, mediated resolution. Mediation shall be scheduled and concluded within 120 days of the written request for mediation. The mediation process shall be closed to the public, and all information submitted during mediation shall be confidential except when permitted otherwise by law. Section F, advisory recommendation. If the dispute is still not resolved at the conclusion of the mediator shall make an advisory recommendation to the district board, which shall in turn make a decision on the matter. The mediator's written findings shall be released to the public within 30 days of that issuance of the recommendation, and the decision of the district board shall be final, provided that the school may appeal to the state. So basically this whole section is anytime there's any dispute between the parties, there's a half a year long dispute process that must be gone through by the district and the school in order to do anything. So at the point at which you start like doing lawsuits, a lot of time has passed. And also like not only has a lot of time passed, but you have to like really be showing like negligence and a complete bad faith application of this contract by the school, and presumably that's what you're taking them to court for. I'm not a legal expert. If you are and you're listening and you're just like screaming at me, that's not how contracts work. Fair enough. Just tell us. Anyway, I wanted to jump in and let you know how just blazingly bad this standard like model contract that the Charter School Association shitheads put out to, you know, remind everyone that you're not exactly waiving your right to take something to court, but you are saying that in all instances that, as far as I'm aware, haven't escalated to like criminal conduct, you have to just do this mind-bogglingly bureaucratic slog through the arbitration process. And again, I can't seem to get a STEM school's contract for anything, so fuck them.
Yeah, so you know, incompetent at best, or like just actively evil staff that work here. Presumably now they went back to their desk job at Raytheon.
Worse than that, or at least in my opinion, worse. The jobs that the evil people go to, so the administrators. Like I said earlier, we have the most amazing teachers. Who not just are great at teaching, but also are fantastic, are very supportive of students and genuinely give a fuck about the well-being of their students, which is awesome.
When you're in an environment like that, one of the skills that you have that keeps you there for a long time is being able to shield students from the administration.
Oh, exactly, 100%. That's 100% what it is. And let's see.
You were discussing the potential lawsuit against the school for disability accommodation reasons.
Oh yeah.
And also prior to that, if you'd like to return to it, you were discussing the aftermath of the school shooting and the legal ramifications, the political ramifications.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You can very much tell that I have severe ADHD from the way I go through subjects.
Welcome,
Don't worry, that's
podcast.
half of this podcast.
That's 4/5 of this podcast. I'm the only one without ADHD.
That's true. You're the only one who's like, I don't like listening to things. I just like the quiet. And we're like, no, noise, all the noise constantly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Today I had a quiet afternoon all by myself. I just laid down on my couch and I read.
I wish my mind was as quiet as Dennis's is.
Anyway, please go on with those two things, though.
Yeah. So the shooting, another anecdote I have about it is, so it happened May 7th, 2019. 2 days later, on May 9th, of course, there were vigils, right? There was one vigil that was put on by the school at I believe it was like the principal's church or something. It was a nice ceremony. It was great to see everyone, in one place again. And there's a sort of great community vibes, and had the chance to, give hugs to friends who needed them, so on, so on. But with that, immediately after was another vigil down the street at Highlands Ranch High School. And that vigil was put on by a series of gun control groups. So what is it? Moms Demand, the Brady Campaign, March for Our Lives, I think one or two others. I knew that it was put on by them because I recognized their names. Because, brain poisoned by politics and the internet. But apparently most people either did not recognize it. It was also very poorly communicated.
Right, and it's also it's like 2 days after the shooting, right?
Yes, this is literally 2 days after.
Yeah.
So you have, I don't know, fucking over 1,000 people crowded into this sort of double-decker gym at Highlands Ranch High School. And among the speakers are Senator Michael Bennet, the Democrat from Colorado, and Congressman Jason Crow, Democrat from Colorado's 6th Congressional District. And Jason Crow gave a respectful, decent speech. Kudos to him. His politics are trash, but that's a separate matter.
His politics are trash, and I do believe his policy on gun control is not in our streets, but definitely Afghanistan.
The Buttigieg line.
Yeah, I believe that was him who put out a tweet to that effect.
Yeah.
Either way.
But Michael Bennet, on the other hand, fucking terrible public speaker. My God. How is he like a U.S. senator? Seriously, dude.
Right.
My Christ. Although he is the policy workhorse of the Senate Democratic Caucus. That I know. But nonetheless.
Everything that's been done to us, we thank him.
He was the guy behind the $600 a week, though, with that
hey, not bad.
shitty little provision that didn't last long enough.
Yeah, okay. I will thank him for our crumbs.
Yeah, yes. Thank you, my lord, for the crumbs you have bestowed upon us.
The gruel be not so thin tonight.
Yeah. And with that, this speech from Michael Bennet being as trash as it was, the friend of mine I was with was very pissed off by it, naturally. And so we walk out of the gym, we're in the hallway talking to some other friends, and they're all very upset, and this is irritating me that they are upset. And so...
Can I ask what specifically about the speech was trash? I know you've told me before.
Oh, God. Whereas Jason Crow and most of the other speakers did your sort of typical, this is a tragedy, we need to come together as a community. You know what I'm talking about. Your
Standard
typical
speech.
Yeah, your normal condolences and shit. Michael and I believe Jason Crow had half a sentence in which he sort of alluded to the notion of gun control. Whereas Michael Bennet, on the other hand, spent half of it talking about this is why we need, universal background, or not universal background checks, because that wouldn't have mattered. But some other, gun control provisions, he spent 40 to 50% of the speech talking about. And, even though most of my friends who I was talking to, are for those things, they didn't give a shit at the time, as one should not give a shit at the time, because, fucking school had just been shot up. A kid had died.
Yeah.
8 others, I believe, were injured. And so, on that, I'm standing out in the hallway, talking to a few friends who are all very pissed off about this, naturally. And so I decide, you know what, my brilliant ideas, I step into the doorway and yell, there's video of this. The video just, you hear me, but not see me. I yell, let STEM kids speak. This causes a significant commotion. The upperclassmen head out of the gym and out the door outside, and they sort of had a on the spot vigil thing for the kid, Kendrick, the high school senior who died, shielding his classmates from the shooters. They held a vigil for him in which they played music, said, kind words, turned on their phone flashlights, and then, under exaggerate? I don't know.
There is a word for this.
I think under exaggerate sounds right.
No,
It's not the one, but there is a word, and that one will work.
Anyways, I cannot
underestimate.
I cannot overstate just how I cannot overstate just how much commotion there was, right? You know, these are, keep in mind these kids and teachers and such. This is 2 days after shooting. You're hearing, benches slam down, right? All these loud bangs and noises.
The whole thing about this was specifically that Michael Bennett is just sitting there being like, we have to take away the guns. And like at this vigil where none of the kids from the school who was shot up was allowed to say anything about it.
Yeah, and then the upperclassmen and such returned and took control of the microphone and gave a series of addresses, speeches, which was really cool. And all of a sudden, I had a lot of respect from the upperclassmen, and I was a freshman at the time, so that was neat too.
It's always a bonus.
Technically, I cannot say I heckled Senator Michael Bennett because it was right after he walked away from the podium and some other gal came up.
Huh. Close enough.
Close enough.
Either way, they held a politicized vigil about a thing that many of the people there might agree with, didn't let any of the kids speak at it, and mostly just sort of communicated as like, this is a regular old vigil where like we're going to just honor everyone, but for some reason all the politicians who have a particular agenda are going to show up, and you're never gonna hear from me very often that like you like, I'm not going to say don't politicize something. I think times like that are actually very good moments to like start coaching people toward a particular political program that you think is actually beneficial here. But like, I'm also not going to stand and be like, yeah, gun control, that's the answer. Like, as you mentioned, like most of the policies that he's talking about probably don't make much of a fucking difference because this is a kid who got a gun from someone who like you have to start like going into people's homes and punishing parents for not locking up the guns enough. You know what I mean?
And even then, I believe it was reported that the shooter who was legally an adult, so the one whose name is in the press, Devin Erickson, they stole the firearms from his home and they busted open the like gun locker. I believe I recall that being reported.
Okay.
So like, what the fuck is gun control gonna do here? And they were handguns too, right? Like, it's not the fucking AR-15s they're always on about. They came in with a couple of handguns and shot the place up.
Right.
So, gun control exactly would not have done anything. Like,
basically, he's giving a useless speech about how like all these policies. It's like it's clearly politicized because anyone who knows what happened, which is just starting to come out in the days following, is like, wait a minute, you're just fucking offering us bullshit solutions and you don't actually give a shit. Like, it just came off very callous.
Oh yeah, I'm pro politicization of tragedy. If it like they're inherently political, if you're not articulating politics related to them, that's political malpractice and like get out of politics, you're doing it wrong. It very much annoyed me when kids said like, "Oh, I wish they wouldn't politicize it." I rolled my eyes so hard at that.
Yeah.
However, to give a speech to very traumatized, kids and teachers 2 days after the school has been shot up. Not the move. Well,
it's like that. There's a time like you can politicize a tragedy in the news and also just like give condolences to the students. Like there's still like a context in which you are doing the politicization, and to just like walk up to a student who's shaking, whose school has just been shot up, and be like, if we'd done gun control, this wouldn't have happened, and then walk away. It's like, it just seems so fucking cruel.
It is, yeah. I did, however, get a chance to as my friend characterized it, tell Jason Crow to go fuck himself.
Cool. Fuck him.
I went up to him. I said, "Oh, Congressman Crow, my parents voted for you. They're party line Democrats, blah, blah, blah. However, gun control is cool and all, but if we don't have a planet but if the planet is on fire, you're not going to be able to do gun control. So will you support the Green New Deal?" Like,
what did he say to that?
One of his aides was with him and scurried him off. He only had the chance. His aide only gave him the chance. Although I say gave him the chance, he understood what was happening, of course. But he said, "Oh, thank you for your tell your family I thank them for their support," that kind of shit. And then he scurried off. But cool. Nonetheless, even in a moment of mourning and tragedy, I too got in my politicization.
They're gonna make it inappropriate. We're gonna talk about politics then.
Oh fuck yeah. And
go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna move on to a new section.
I was also going to move on to a new section. What was the section you were going to move on to?
I was going to talk
come up
more
with a
about
segue.
corporate shit.
You were going to talk about the GE stuff and the Lockheed stuff?
Yes, Lockheed internships and General Electric in my environmental science class.
Okay, I got one. Oh shit! What were we saying? Because I basically just oh fuck, I'm losing it.
So this is so we've talked about how this is a neoliberal experiment. This is a democratic stronghold. You have all these democratic people there, and this school is somehow both like neoliberal austerity and full-on libertarianism. So the experience of having these this disjointed monster.
It's the Ayn Rand preschool from The Simpsons.
Oh god, it is. Yeah, this disjointed monster that you like. You wake up and you go there every day, and you've had to experience this tragedy. There is also driven by the same thing that is driving Jason Crow to not even touch like Green New Deal stuff, right? Because this school literally is getting corporate money the same way that politicians are. It's not going to it's not going to make waves, because that would maybe mess up their cash cow that they have going.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. And for the sort of area that we're in, I believe across the street is a big Visa office and data center, right? Within, let's see, how many miles? I pull it up on Google Maps. It's not fucking telling me. I don't know. Within like less than 10 miles of my school, definitely less than 10 miles, is a fucking huge Lockheed Martin campus that is nestled behind some of the sort of first layer of large hills / mountains, depending on where you're from. A campus so large, they have private horse stables for their employees.
What? Jesus.
For the employees,
I learned that recently.
to go bed down in, of course.
to like ride your horse to work with?
For if you're a employee of Lockheed Martin, you can, and you have a horse, they have like stables and grounds for you to keep your horse at.
Okay, so it's literally for you to ride your horse to work and also to not have to pay some other company to stable your horse because you still live in a suburb.
Not even ride your horse to work, but just like have for recreational purposes, is sort of horse in a stable, because if you look it up on Google Maps, you will see you're definitely not riding your horse to work.
Okay. It's just you're riding.
It's like
down the center of the highway.
Yeah, it's it just sort of really tells you just the sort of level of feudalism that they're operating on. And Lockheed, not only do they have, their own sort of estate for the horses to roam around on and such, but they also have their own water sub-district. Like,
Jesus. Really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. If you look up, you Google Denver Water District, and then, look at their list of sub-districts. Lockheed has their own one. They have like their own quasi-governmental entity.
Okay, so they literally have a board of people who control all the water that goes in and out, and then just kick back some of the money to like Colorado state government or Denver Water in order to like have access to that amount of water. Is that normal for large corporations that do like industrial manufacturing though? I wonder.
I don't know if that particular level of devolution
do they even
is normal.
Do manufacturing there?
No one knows exactly what they do
That's
there.
True. Who knows?
That's kind of the point of it being nestled behind mountains.
Yeah. There's a strong tradition in Colorado of just behind the first layer of foothills, like putting like your Rocky Flats ass, like
exactly, yeah,
nuclear propulsion testing, whatever that you can't quite see from the highway, but you go back a little bit.
Yeah, and it's literally just behind the very first layer of foothills.
It is. It's weird.
Their state.
The highway is cut through the foothills a little bit, and just as you drive by on the highway, you suddenly look out into what looks like just sort of emptiness going toward the mountains, and you just spy this like Truman Show style like suburb directly through this cut through the wall, and you're like, oh my god, it's horrifying.
Yeah. With that, Lockheed, they have, not only are they a significant donor to the school, the largest, I believe, but they also have an internship program with the school.
Wow.
So 17-year-olds can go off and help design bombs. They claim that that the kids are only working on, you know, like space related shit. But I'm sorry, that's fucking bullshit. We all know it.
Right, this is one of those like, okay, kids, we want you to find a way to help Santa deliver toys remotely because Santa works very hard. Now we need you to be able to deliver a payload of toys of at least 10 tons.
The interns there, though, are doing very serious work. Like, they don't keep them on the Santa Tracker project or whatever. They actually do have them working on the, like, you know, projects that the actual engineers are on in designing, I don't know, some more aerodynamic kind of bomb to throw at Yemeni's children.
You're saying they primarily work with space stuff, you said?
That's
in
their
theory?
claim.
So wait a minute.
That's
You're
their claim,
telling me
yes.
that as they defund NASA, the future of private spaceflight is being built by 17-year-olds?
Great. I'm into it.
Basically.
I could play Fortnite in space.
Yes.
Poggers.
What do you mean Starlink is designed to allow us to play battle royales while we are all stuck in our space pods working for Amazon?
The actual like OS is just Roblox.
built on Roblox.
Yeah, it's built on Roblox.
Tesla now powered by Roblox.
We are so in tune with younger generations, and it shows.
I do know kids play Roblox, but that's the only boomer joke I'm gonna make. All right.
The cringy kids play Roblox.
Well, you know what?
What are the cool
Artemis.
What do the cool kids play? Oh, is Artemis?
Minecraft.
Oh.
Well, Artemis plays both, so.
Okay.
Well, I mean, to be fair, Artemis maybe a little cringe sometimes.
Artemis is, I think, okay with that.
Yeah, I mean, we all have a little bit of cringe, don't we?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Exactly.
She's doing a better job embracing it than we are.
Yes.
There you go.
Sorry, go ahead. Talk to us about the bombs.
Oh, the bombs and things. Yeah. Obviously you aren't told very much about it. In one of the reasons for that is because those teenagers, they're given security clearances. Like that's another reason why we don't know shit about it. Because they literally are like sworn to secrecy on it.
This is like the lab that Peter Parker always, like, in every universe that there's a Peter Parker goes to. And there's just, for some reason, some 17-year-old that's allowed to walk around, you know, a government lab that's doing like genetic engineering.
Very weird that means our first superhero is going to be a failed child who was bitten by like a radioactive scorpion.
Well, I mean, of course it is though. Like they're not gonna let some poor kid become a superhero.
That's true.
That is literally the whole point of the show The Boys. So
really?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah. The Boys.
We can talk about that later.
Familiar with
The
the
Boys
show.
was
Okay. What
woke
is it
as
about?
fuck, Charlie.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
That can be another episode.
Yeah, another episode brought to you by Amazon. Right? It's an
Right.
Amazon show.
Yeah. So your school is doing partnerships with this Lockheed plant, giving kids security clearances and swearing them to, I assume, like very legally aggressive and pursuable secrecy if they even like talk about it with their peers.
I mean, yeah, they literally are given like federal clearance.
Because that sounds really alienating.
I don't know. I don't know those people very well personally.
I mean, see, you're either one of the theater kids and you just are in one of those. You're one of the band geeks and just like, you know, stuck in, you know, talking to other sexually active band geeks, or you're
band geek
you know,
representation,
or you're, you know, one of the people who works at Lockheed or interns at Lockheed Martin, and you're only allowed to talk to each other. It's still a type of clique.
Yeah.
And with that, that's not the only sort of security clearance related provision. On that, my computer science teacher was saying a few weeks back that every year around February, March, he has between 3 and 10 FBI agents come and talk to him because they're doing background checks on, kids who graduated like 1 or 2 years ago.
Jesus.
And because of the computer science education they received at S.T.E.M, they're able to basically jump into a job at Homeland Security or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you already got
That's
the
awful.
background check the first time around, so, you know, we might as well just skip past all this important stuff and ask you, what's your favorite flavor of ice cream?
So I love this dichotomy because Raytheon is literally across the street from your school or whatever.
Lockheed.
Lockheed Martin is literally like, within a stone's throw of your school. And historically, the city that I grew up in and I went to high school in has Northrop Grumman there, and also JPL not too far, and they work together. And I prior to this show, I did a little bit of digging to see like, has Northrop Grumman or JPL ever done anything with my school district? To see like maybe they were trying to fund the science programs here at these these poor working class Mexican schools. Nope, never once, not at all.
Jesus.
So it's weird again, just a weird sort of privilege that you get as a white student in a very
odd how that works. I don't know what's up with
very economically privileged part of the United
They
States.
keep fast tracking you to the top of the oppression pyramid. Why do they do that?
I know.
Curious.
That's wild. I'm surprised they're doing all the background checks on students there. Like, don't they just don't they just give you massive amounts of technology that they use to like cull data from the students so that like they just already know you?
It also just seems so risky because like high school kids can't keep a secret. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like
These fucking nerds can.
Oh man, that must be the only thing they got going for them.
There was an episode, it was either Chapo, TrueAnon, or one of the ones where there was the Chapo people on TrueAnon, but that was the one thing they said is the number one feature of the ruling class. The entire thing is based on secrets. Like, you don't just jack off onto Geronimo's skull in a coffin because, like, it's just a wacky thing you do as a lark. It's because they want you to do things that are secrets they can keep, because the entire system is basically you're let in once you demonstrate you can keep a secret. So actually, I would suggest that it's not specifically that the internship assumes they can keep a secret, but the internship is the proving ground for whether or not they can. It's one of the many ways to do that.
That's a good way of thinking of it. I like that.
That's some four-dimensional chess there, Charlie.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's like, I still think it's like, I mean, I understand we're joking around a little, but it's like, no, that's like, they don't have to do it on purpose. They just have to know that, like, you have to be able to trust each other intensely. And that's how you make a ruling class.
I think it's also that thing that I want to say like neurotypicals do, where they know like what to talk about and what not to talk about, like implicitly.
Yeah.
And it's very, I mean, I can't keep my mouth closed. First of all,
Me either.
I'm a fucking gossip. Okay, I'm. That's what I'm gonna get punished for in purgatory or whatever the fuck.
Heck, Brynn, you're here telling us about the school, so like,
I mean, I'm also a gossip too, but that's just because I'm a bitch.
Yeah, all of us are gonna burn in hell and or the camps.
Yeah, we'll all give Satan a lap dance at some point. It's fine.
Yeah, so like that's what that culture is. That culture is like, oh, you have to know like when to like who you can say this or that to implicitly based off of nothing other than how neurotypicals understand information and how it's shared.
Yes.
Amongst themselves. So
like
it's
literally some of what creates the concept of neurotypicality is the professional managerial class and these upper echelons of quote unquote normal society, where like you have to have that skill. You are not neurotypical if you do not have that skill. And they will test it. They will test you to see if you have it in the process, even though it's sort of it's an inadvertent like cultural replication thing, but you still got to have it to keep climbing the ranks.
Yes. And that's why something like, PC culture like is aversive to them, because they would never understand like how to communicate when you're surrounded by that kind of culture, that kind of replication of a phenomenon that you yourself get to, call normal. You don't. It's scary to think that you're the one that's wrong. Mm-hmm. First of all, and it's frightening that they get to determine like how our culture is shaped, because those are the Mark Zuckerbergs and the Jeff Bezoses of our world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They say speaking of, they do collect a lot of data from you, correct? As students?
What do you mean by that? Elaborate.
I remember you talked to me about how like they gave you all those VR headsets so you could do cool VR projects, but what they wanted in return was all the data.
Well, okay, not necessarily data in the like I don't know, the way you hear it when Facebook, has something to do with it, right?
Fair enough. I just want to make sure this information is in here because it's very interesting.
Yeah. Oh, all right. Going on that. So another thing Lockheed did for us was donate some really fucking fancy computer equipment, a great deal actually, and among that was VR headsets. And the data they wanted back, again, this is a privilege of being in the upper class. They didn't want surveillance data. They wanted research reports.
They wanted use data.
Yeah, they wanted us to report to them like a fucking graduate student who does all the work for their top big name professor does, right? Like in actually carrying out the study, being down there in the spreadsheet mines for 18 hours a day, right?
The spreadsheet mines, absolutely.
Yeah. But so they don't necessarily want to surveil us because, again, we're talking about the upper echelons of society.
They've got the FBI to figure that out if they really need to.
Exactly, yeah.
They're married into the FBI if they really are that desperate.
Yes, that's the best way to put it. Really, yeah. They wanted to sort of use us for like more experimental-ish purposes rather than like pure data harvesting. But continuing on that, another sort of facet of militarism present at my school is a program run by the U.S. Air Force and all their contractors, of course, called Cyber Patriot, or as I call it, Cyber Nationalist.
That is not remotely dystopian or spooky.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Tell us more about Cyber Patriot.
Yeah, I remember when I was in like 7th grade or something and they introduced it to the school, I was like, what the fuck is this? With that, the Cyber Nationalist program, as I call it, what they do is that it's basically like hacking competitions. And they give you like a fucking Linux virtual machine or something, and they want you to find like the vulnerabilities in it, right? That's what it's all about. It's essentially simulated high stakes bug bashing.
It's a hackathon, but for high school students.
Yes, exactly. And when they have their events, they are proper hackathons. They last for a fucking long while. They'll be there, late into the night, working on these things.
Yeah, I mean that's good, and you can learn all that same kind of stuff from like YouTube. You don't need state sponsorship to come in and like learn how computers communicate and what vulnerabilities exist. And
I mean, I think in general, yes. What was that? Oh, never mind. But I think in general, yes. But there are some people who do there are some people who work better with that like classroom environment, and there's other people that are better at the individual thing.
Yeah,
it's just still really weird that they're sending in, multi-trillion-dollar weapons manufacturers to do it for you, though.
Exactly.
To teach you all.
Exactly.
That's the weird thing.
Yeah, no.
The weapons manufacturers don't actually teach us. They just like bankroll the thing.
Right. I mean, essentially though.
This
exactly. Yeah.
This Computer Basics 101 class sponsored by Northrop Grumman. Like this is weird that they're doing like very normal, like very very like not obscure, like mainstream stuff that, Dennis is right. People probably do learn this better in a classroom environment. This would be a good class to teach, but then it's mixing in. That's the propaganda part of all this. Is it's mixing in these very overt, this very overt messaging about it being, a patriotic fucking program that you're going to like, I'm learning, I'm learning like computer science, computer security stuff. No, that doesn't, we don't want to sponsor a computer science / computer security program. Okay, we want to sponsor the American Patriot Act 2.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, and that it's just like, I fucking like, I understand that like the education system has always to some large degree, like, my dad learning like punch card programming and Fortran stuff in college was offered a lot of jobs out of college to build missiles and shit that he didn't want. And thank God he didn't fucking take. But like, it's just like, that's like he was, being taught in college things that would be sort of useful to that. But the idea that like in middle and high school now, whereas before we were like winning the presidential award for doing more than 10 pull-ups, you're now receiving like the Cyber Patriot Award for code hacking. It's just like, what the fuck?
You
It's
learned
not
to
only
use
that, but
InMap
it's
on...
keeping it also. It's also keeping it oligarchical because guess what? Like, your school district, like I said, got fucking, what was it? You were saying Raytheon or Lockheed Martin. Whereas, you got Lockheed in your school. Literally, my school or my city has Northrop Grumman in it. Never bothers with our schools. So it's like they're really only keeping it as oligarchical as possible as well. Like, just to maybe bomb the pores at some point in the future.
Yeah, you learn to type InMap into the command line. But like, also, you're the only one that learned to type InMap into the command line because nobody else was given, that opportunity. So it's again, like the American education system is still somehow doing the bare minimum, even at what is supposed to be this, perfect place that parents, that families have bought into, middle, quote unquote middle class families have bought into as part of their American dream, as part of the thing that they're supposed to be doing. That we're recreating, American culture, and we're doing it. We're doing it at the behest of these corporations.
You say type Nmap into the command line. While I'm not in the class right now, I will be next year. I sit in on Certified Ethical Hacker because I have an independent study under that teacher during the same class period. And so, I hear all the shit. The last few classes have literally been Nmap.
I cannot stress enough that you can learn this shit on your own. You can call me and we can sit on Discord and I will upload information into your brain about this stuff because I've also watched the dumb video, I promise.
I like the classes though. They're done very well. And with
school can be cool, but the military runs it now.
Yeah, that's a good point. I pointed this out to my computer science teacher, who's a progressive guy. I point out that, like, do you ever think about how the sort of 20% of funding for a school that comes from the private sector, being dominated by Lockheed, Boeing, these defense contractors, you ever think about how your salary in my education is in part paid for by the profits, from selling bombs to the Defense Department to go in Saudi Arabia to go drop on, again, Yemenis children in hospitals and such like that. And he was put aback by that. He was like, oh, fuck, I never thought about it that way. And that's just the thing. You never think about it that way when you are the teacher, even if you are politically progressive, simply because to think such a thought is so fucking grim. It's not
only grim, but it's that thing Dennis mentioned earlier that we were talking about. Like, there are certain things you do talk about and certain things you don't talk about. And to all be in that position, you have to have spent 30, 40 years not talking about it. And it's nice to know that all you have to do is say it once for the person to go, oh, crap. And then they can't ever unthink that. But what they do with that, I don't know. I hope a seed was planted in that conversation. Right. But it's just 30 years of not talking about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's quite insidious too.
Yeah.
And even when you do talk about it, this is now we can get into the General Electric business, right?
Yeah, we somehow spun just away from GE. We avoided it entirely.
There's so much information that our regular riffing is getting in the way of the information.
I know.
Yeah. I enjoy the riffs too, so I don't know how to balance it.
I think it's just going to be a long episode and people will deal. So, talking about GE.
GE. All right. So, in my AP Environmental Science class, we began this weird fucking partnership, I guess you could call it, with General Electric. And so what that consists of so far is like Zoom calls with the hacks from GE. And with that, they were mostly engineers, right, who work on things like wind turbines. I think that's mainly what they were.
So they're letting you talk to the like environmentally friendly wing of GE.
Yes. I pointed this out.
Is this anything beyond propaganda?
Luckily, I was surprised. You know what? I'll get there later. What am I doing?
Okay, we'll keep going.
Anyways.
Keep going.
All right. So as I was saying, we have these Zoom calls with these engineers from General Electric who work on primarily wind turbines. And, they told us all about the wind turbines. They didn't really tell us any information that we didn't already attain from the textbooks, the heavily researched notes that my teacher gives us, and, our own research, right? Like, they weren't really telling us anything fucking new.
Wind good.
Wind good, yes. But the point of it was that they split us up into 4 groups. You got to choose what group you're in. I believe, and the groups were all about, get ready for this, get ready for fucking this. Solving climate change! Like, they literally want fucking 17-year-olds to fix climate change.
Oh, yeah.
This is their big grand plan.
If you solve it, then you can't claim any copyright over it, so,
They split us up into 4 groups. There was like a technology group, an infrastructure group, one I don't remember, and then my group, which was the social issues group, right? And
so social issues, technology, environment, and foreign policy.
Oh, that would have been really fucking funny if it was foreign policy.
Oh,
Holy
God,
shit.
I'm glad it wasn't.
Me too.
I have been in political science classes where they've been like, let's solve another country because they're a climate problem. It's very, very upsetting.
Oh, ouch. Oh, man. That's, General Electric. So, we're in these, 4 groups, and it's our fucking job as 17-year-olds to solve climate change. I am exaggerating that a little bit, but nonetheless, the guy at the school whose job it is to like run these partnerships, Dr. Why don't you guys give me an alias name here?
Dr. Alias?
Dr. Alias. That's there you go. Dr. Alias, right? This fucking guy who runs these things. He's told us that like what I assume are assholes who bear titles like Senior Vice President for Growth and Development, Senior Vice President for, I don't know, but you know how it is with these absurd titles.
I hate to add that I have to ask this. These are titles at your school or at GE?
General Electric.
Okay.
I'm just making that up, that up off the top.
Sure.
Pulling that out of my ass. But nonetheless, that's the sort of
those types
impression I got. Yeah, those that sort of not
upper,
all the way at the top, not the C-suite guys, but one or 2 steps below them.
Right, the upper managerial class.
Yeah. So Dr. Alias, he tells us he's been talking with these clowns, and that they are all, very excited to hear the ideas that young people have. And by the way, this partnership between my school and GE, the very first one General Electric has done.
Oh no.
I'm sure they funded a litany of science fairs. I'm more than confident they have. But in terms of actual, direct peer sort of collaboration, if you want to call it that, between their employees and students, this is the first time.
Schools haven't been privatized enough until now to let GE get all the way in front of the student, but not anymore.
Utilizing innovative organizational schemes and structures, we have made it possible for. I don't have the amount of brain capacity to continue this bit. I'm sorry. You're gonna have to cut that. I apologize.
No, we're gonna leave in all the jargon.
Oh God. I could have made that funny. But I'm sad. I'm sad that I don't have the brain capacity at this moment to do that. Thanks to being up for 13 hours.
It's okay. If you're anything like me, you'll listen back to this and go, "Wow, that was good and funny and competent." And I did not know that until after it came out and I re-listened to it.
Probably.
Happens every time.
Yeah. But
Anyway.
yeah. So these senior vice presidents are very excited to hear what young people have to say about how we're going to solve climate change, right?
Yeah.
They're looking, the classic buzzword they're always looking for solutions, right? No matter what it is, it's always a solution. It's never a product or service anymore. It's just fucking solutions.
By saying that the future's in the hands of the children, they're, simultaneously taking the pressure off themselves to solve this giant problem by not producing as much for the military-industrial complex. They're also kind of obfuscating that they're, in fact, the ones in charge of producing all these products.
Most of the carbon.
Yeah, most of the carbon themselves. So
Yeah.
Oh, also, it's just like, I love it. We're going to give the future to the children early, because by the time they're old enough to work for us and solve it, they'll be dead from it.
Yeah. In order to extract from them in the future, we need to extract from them now. Also, not my fault. You can't prove it.
Yeah. And with that, so my group, the social issues group, right? We all agree, because, we are Zoomers, that Green New Deal, right? And, everyone sort of agreed with the extensive policy positions that I laid out, that within 2 minutes of being assigned to this group, I had already a document full of shit, just because I know where all the source material is.
And also, you have literally written out chunks of Green New Deal for me before.
Perhaps.
You know what you're doing.
But, on that, Dr. Alias comes in the other fucking day, and, he asks us, what is your guys' plan for what you're gonna, say to GE in your presentation or whatever, right? And, because, he's one of the, stretch the form type guys, he's very, irritated by the fact that, because of fucking COVID and Zoom, the only thing we can do is, I don't know, a goddamn presentation of some sort. He wants us to do some, I don't know, fucking ridiculous, build a working model of a wind turbine or some dumb shit like that. We have to be innovative.
Use your VR headsets to build a perfect world where there is not climate change.
Some shit like that. Fucking one of the history teachers, who before he got shit canned for disobeying 504 plans, and rumor was he was drinking on the job, and his stepdaughter slightly confirmed that. Before he was shit canned, he literally did exactly that, and sort of use VR to or build a game in Unity, or not a game, but an environment in Unity for you to look at through the VR. Build a digital museum in Unity for you to view through the VR goggles with, and subsequently it wasn't a fucking history class at that point, it was a computer science class, and everyone wanted to kill themselves, except for a handful of nerds.
It's important to remember how poorly a lot of this technology is being implemented. Just I don't know, fucking history goes in a museum, make a virtual museum. Tell me history.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. Spot on. But anyways, Dr. fucking Alias, those are his kind of, that's his whole shtick, stretch the form.
The boomer shit.
Yeah.
When you say stretch the form, I was not understanding what that meant, because that felt like PMC lingo that you would only hear at this school or in boardrooms. And I'm like, what you're saying is the medium through which you are sculpting, take it and make it and bring it into new mediums and arenas to make it bigger, stretching the form of the thing.
Yes.
That was so unclear to me until I just I think I got it.
Sorry about that. Yeah, no, I got the stretch the form from Twitter shitposting. That's where I grabbed it.
Really?
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah, my particular sort of area of Twitter shitposting, the Matt and Liz Brunig fan club, that sort of cohort.
Oh, so it's taking the PMC lingo and then just shit posting it at people who aren't going to get it anyway because they have a whole different lingo that comes from Jack Dorsey.
PMC shit posting basically. Yeah.
Okay, I get it. But anyway, your science class.
Yeah, my fucking science class. So yeah, Dr. Alias, he's irritated that because of COVID, we can't truly stretch the form. And we basically have to do some kind of presentation. And so on that, he then proceeds to like nag us and saying like, what's your goal? What's your goal? And goes off on this, fucking rant about how, we have to have a good goal. And if you don't have a good goal, you're gonna fail. And like, we are all perfectly capable of drafting a decent goal statement, right? Like, this guy, he just comes in and acts like we can't write a fucking paragraph or something.
The
It's
Green New
ridiculous.
Deal, even as it exists currently, is a goal statement.
Yeah, exactly. But he comes in, he gives up this rant, and then, he asks us like, okay, what do you guys think is necessary to solve climate change? And, I point out that like General Electric are the enemy here. And he said to me word for word, do you really believe that General Electric is the enemy? And I was like, yeah.
Yes.
And then this is the part where I was surprised. Fucking everyone else in the class, not kidding, everyone else agreed.
And that's how
That feels
solidarity
good.
works, folks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I should have mentioned earlier the two kinds of politics that you have at my school if you're a student. You're either a socialist or you're a libertarian. There's not much in between. Those are the two options. And we have a lot more socialists than we do libertarians, thank God.
This is good.
But
You're not the ones who are going to be given the power, but I think there might be enough of you just yet that we can do this.
Hopefully. But anyway, so the surprising radicalism of my class backing me up on this shit, pointing out, dude, GE, they're the enemy. They're the reason why, among other things, you can't swim in the Hudson River, right? This is because all the fucking PCBs they dumped in there. Literally, the day before, or the class before this, we had learned specifically about General Electric dumping shit tons of PCBs into the Hudson River.
PC boards.
PCBs, it's a, it's
Is
not
this a chemical?
Yes, it's a form of chemical. It's a really long fucking word. That's why they cut it down to PCB.
I was really hoping that you were saying PCP because that sounds like radical anarchy. That's what that is.
Yeah, polychlorinated biphenyl. Yeah, polychlorinated biphenyl.
Yeah.
Okay. And so the previous class to this, you learned they were just dumping this into the Hudson River.
Yeah, General Electric specifically, we learned specifically about that, case. It was the big example, when we were, learning about the details of the Superfund Act and program.
Yep.
Oh, God. Betrayed by history yet again.
Yeah. This wonderful irony. So, Dr. Alias, irritated at us for correctly recognizing that General Electric is the enemy. However, he insists that, oh, what do you, they're committed to, they're committed to decarbonization by 2045. I blurt out just that's not enough. And in response, he says, I agree. It's like, what do you mean you agree? You fucking don't. You're advocating their position on some level, right? What the fuck is this?
Does Dr. Alias work for GE or the school?
The school. He's the partnerships
Jesus.
guy. That's his whole shtick.
So he works for the school, but his only job is to make sure the corporations like you.
Yeah, he did a thing a few years ago where they set up a bunch of corporate teleconferencing equipment in this one room. They called it the Sync, SYNK, some kind of acronym. But the whole point was teleconference with kids in Mexico or some shit. I remember that being a thing. It was all very dumb.
That's abhorrent.
Yeah. The Department of Education, this was, under the Trump administration, their official blog had a piece on it.
Really?
Yes.
Your
I'll send it to you after this.
Your school teleconferencing to the other side of the wall.
to the other side of the wall and to some Mexican school that Dr. Alias went to visit, and he told us some stories about that definitely aren't true. Or he was just living some kind of phantasmatic delusion. Honestly, the latter, I believe, is probably more likely.
White people really just love going on mission trips, don't they?
Jesus.
Like, we can't escape it. It's just
Jesus Christ. Yeah, techno mission trip.
Techno mission trip.
Oh my god. Christ. Oh my luckily I got some great dunks in on Dr. Alias that even my teacher laughed at. Although she has good politics, so it makes sense why she laughed at it. But anyways, yeah, Dr. Alias scolding us for recognizing that GE are the enemy. But even in the sort of final, goal statement or whatever, and presentation that we are doing, we plan to, be subversive about it, right? Like, we're not idiots. We're not giving up on this.
Right, you're not allowed to speak ill of the king, but you can write a play about a previous king that's definitely not about this king.
Yeah, wink, wink, nod, nod, that kind of shit. Except we are a bit less passive-aggressive and more aggressive in that respect, so we'll see how it goes. The presentation has yet to actually be significantly worked on, so I'll let you know how it goes.
Ooh.
Please do.
And anyways, it's pretty clear what GE want from us is to, like, tell them how good a job they're doing, and, like, I don't know, for them to sponsor more science fairs or some shit like that.
You're being used for PR so that, like, they can have a bunch of kids work on something. They can use you as, they can hold you up as, like, look, this child created this thing for us, and it's incredible. The minds of the youth. It's just a pure propaganda exercise that, like, might end up with a product they force on, like, a nation in Africa or something.
Oh my god,
yeah.
Literally exactly that. I can't believe we didn't cover this. This fucking sophomore at my school who was on the cover of Time for inventing a machine in response to the Flint water crisis that doesn't need to fucking exist. Like, we know how not to have leaded water.
You don't put lead in it.
For like a couple thousand years. Yeah, just don't fucking put lead in it. And don't privatize your water district.
Right?
Like, the poisoning of Flint's water, came directly because of cost-cutting measures implemented by the privatized water company. Anyways,
Yep.
And this fucking sophomore at my school invented some dumbass machine, and claims to have written a AI. No, which Chrome extension which detects cyberbullying.
I'm gonna just your school is just the photo op school.
Yes.
Just what this is.
Yeah, and that's
So wait.
Sorry for the diversion.
No, I want to actually ask real quick about that diversion. This student invented a device to de-lead water that I'm assuming, based on context, was foisted on an African nation?
I mean, I don't think it's been foisted on an African nation yet. I think we're like a couple years away from that, but they're getting there.
Okay.
I was not clear.
Let's see.
Okay.
Yeah, fucking.
That's slightly better.
I don't know how to pronounce her first name. I'm not even gonna try and pronounce her first name.
Don't even worry about it.
But yeah, you look up like Time Magazine, Kid of the Year 2020. She'll come up, and God, it makes me want to. And like, she's an asshole in real life, like a stuck-up prick. She knows way too well that she's smart. Like, it's makes, like, most people at the school, because we're nerds, queers, social recluses, you name it, are humble about knowing a lot of things about a niche field or whatever. This gal, not.
I like it when people think I'm cool, and I know too much about this incredibly niche field to be cool, but, like, I don't know, tell me once in a while, instead of this other person who's like, all will kneel before me, the person who has solved the Flint water crisis, despite the fact that it somehow seems to still be going on.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
we
And
invented the
cyberbullying, don't
device
forget
to
that.
solve it. Why is it still going on, Charlie?
Oh, right. I forgot. Also, the AI device that prevents cyberbullying on the internet by, I don't know, I presume just navigating you to, like, Neopets whenever someone starts to cyberbully you.
It turns the machine off. If you can't see it, then it isn't real.
Right. Every time you open Chrome, it just auto closes it for you.
And then it pops up, to the video. How is cyberbullying even real? Just close your eyes. Just turn it off.
Yeah.
And excuse me, she didn't invent a device to take lead out of water. Even less productive than that, something we've known how to do also for like decades at least, probably a couple centuries, is she invented a device, ready for this, that detects lead in water.
Right.
Oh. So she didn't solve the Flint water crisis. She made us more aware of it.
Yeah, but the PR around it basically claimed, like, it more or less claims that she solved the Flint water crisis. That's the whole shtick.
It prevents a new one by allowing you to know when you've already had one.
Yeah, basically.
Okay, great, cool.
Oh, and fun fact on that, this is another, demonstration of like the sort of class strata here. For some reason, the person who interviewed her for Time was Angelina Jolie, who is currently the primary client for my aunt, who is one of the top divorce attorneys in the state of California.
Oh, spicy.
That's the only part of my family that has like proper aristocratic money. Everyone else is like either working class or sort of typical middle class, not the multi-million dollar, you live on San Francisco Bay in this beautiful home. You live
in the suburban equivalent of a row house, which is actually a cool neighborhood.
Yeah. It's basically, yeah. But nonetheless, that sort of shows you just how
can I leave
stratified this is.
Can I leave that in the episode, or do I have to cut that out because you're...
No, you can leave that in.
Okay, that's actually a known fact. That's not a thing that you learned through your family.
Yeah, no, if you Google Samantha Blythe DeJean, she will come up in the New York Times for being the attorney.
I'm going to cut that part out.
I feel like there's a lot of names that are going to be cut out of this episode.
I mean, that shit was reported on, like,
sure,
news sites already, so.
Cool. Okay.
But anyways, like I said, he was in the Times.
Yes.
Yeah, but wrapping up the GE shit.
Yes, wrap that up.
So, the GE thing, yeah, they want us to basically do PR for them. It seems like every student understands this very well. Dr. Alias refuses to believe it, and so we're going to have to find some way to either be subversive about this, because we're gonna get yelled at and reamed if we just come out and like tell GE to go fuck themselves, as we would all like to.
I think you should get yelled at. Like, I don't think there's anything they can do about it.
That was my position, but I'm not about to deviate from the party line, though. You know me, I'm a party line kind of gal. But the collective overall decided that, like, we'll take the middle road. I'm not sure I have much more on that. Like I said, my brain is beginning to shut down. I need dinner.
Hey, we've hit 2 hours. Zach, can you take us out?
Yes, if we've covered everything, we've fully probed this topic. We've dove keen into this topic. We have become the Dragonborn at this point. Just because of we're the only ones that can save. You're the only one, Brynn, that can save us from the fully imperialized future. The children are the future, and I'm very. It's very refreshing to hear that that you are already. Your eyes are open. Is that fair?
I don't know. I've been a member of the DSA since my freshman year and like doing shit with them. So however you want to characterize that.
Yeah, I mean, in my freshman year, I was joining like a Young Americans for Liberty thing because my friends were going there, and they're like, "We should go to this." I was like, "Okay," and then I like just didn't question politics stuff because that's just what I grew up around. So.
Young Americans for Freedom? Bill Buckley's group?
It was some bullshit libertarian thing, and we had a bunch of like Republican speakers that would come and talk to us about this shit, and we did like learned political like Robert's Rules of Order, and we held meetings, and like we went to the Capitol, and
okay, that sounds like Young Americans for Freedom. Yeah, that literally William F. Buckley, he was the guy who started that.
That's good to know. I'm so Wow, I've really followed in the footsteps of my predecessors, haven't I?
Well, the nice part is, from all of those different things, we're here now, all being like, this is terrible. And it is really genuinely heartening to hear that, at least within the cohort of students you work with, like, they see it for what it is. And I can only assume, as the education system gets more and more brutal downward in the class scale, kids know what's going on.
Yeah. Like, my generation up until 2020 already, sort of progressive, whatever that means. But I recall after the George Floyd protests, I got a lot of messages from people, both close friends and like acquaintances saying like, damn, you were really out here from day one. Saying 9/11 was an inside job. I miss Alex Jones so much, but
he's still going. Sort of.
Nonetheless, like after the George Floyd thing, a huge amount of people I know, like, basically sort of picked up the mantle of like serious leftism. Like now identify as like, socialists, anarchists, communists, and actually know what those things mean and like have some ideas about them and have like read some basic shit about it. Like, it's actually super awesome to see like so many of my peers, even at this like how do you describe my school earlier? What was your lovely caricature of it?
It's the photo op. It's just the photo op school for the libertarian liberal project, where they're doing like solidarity with each other, and that's it.
Well, there hasn't been any actual political organizing done at my school, mainly because I've been like too depressed.
It should not fall all to you, but nonetheless, you have done great work.
That was facetious, anyways, or hyperbolic, but nonetheless, my point was that it's been so awesome to see in the last year like such a huge amount of my peers, even at this this level of society, like adopt genuinely radical politics and like become seriously invested in it. And
because that's all it takes, right? Is like being a little bit of a nerd and like reading some shit every now and then, and suddenly you're like, oh yeah, no, I get it. Here we are. 9/11 was not, in fact, about protecting American democracy or whatever the fuck they keep telling us it was about.
Yeah.
Like the information is out there. Like every day I talk with people that are like, no, the US didn't do this propaganda project that we have literally documentation, videos, written sworn testimony on, like
official government documents.
Right.
Yeah. The US government itself was like, yeah, we did that. And we paid them a lot of money because we definitely did that. So,
would you say that your generation is more likely than maybe previous ones to respond to out of your homes into the streets by coming out into the street?
Yeah, I think so. And I also think
I hope so. That's really cool.
I also think that at a more than, your sort of typical cynical, unfortunately correct projections, I was just listening to an episode of the Death Panel earlier in which they said a very similar thing in which they, how sad they are that their predictions about how COVID would be handled were spot on.
Are you talking about the Doomer texts I send you?
Yes, that's what I speak of. Yeah, I don't. From your Doomer perspective,
I'm not that. I'm not that Doomer. I think I'm optimistic. I'm also cynical.
Yeah.
That's all. Just saying.
But even from a Doomer point of view, the sort of scale at which my fellow Zoomers have become radicalized and such, like, if we are to believe the piles and piles of social science research which claim it's your teenage years and early 20s when you develop the politics you will most likely keep for the rest of your life, if we are to believe that,
oh no, Zach,
perhaps we have a chance.
I wasted my early 20s being like weirdly libertarian. Yeah, okay. Listen, Charlie, I'm just now in my like late 20s. Okay, I don't want to hear shit from you.
I'm sorry, Brynn. Go ahead.
Not all.
Yeah, if we are to believe the social scientists who claim that it is in your youth that you develop the politics you will keep for the rest of your life, then perhaps, yes, maybe it will be my generation that will come out into the streets when, out of your homes into the streets is yelled.
Good. Well, thanks so much for coming on and sharing this with us, giving us, hopefully, not only hope, but also informing us and kind of, this is also our project, making this stuff more visible for ourselves, for others, and fleshing out, that is kind of what we should be doing as individuals, creating communities and fleshing out these experiences and ideas and getting them out there so that we can, address them together as well, because we're not just, we're doing our best to not be atomized, individuals that are just kind of, here for the ride. We have stories to tell. We have, an entire rigorous framework through that we view the world through that it seems pretty cool. And the more people that we can tell about that and share that experience and those beliefs with, the cooler it'll hopefully get. So
hell yeah, fuck yeah.
Let's go ahead and do some plugs.
Should I plug anything?
Dolphins and Garages.
No, I was just wondering. Is that gauche? I'm just gonna do it anyway because it's gauche.
Brynn, do you feel it's gauche for Dennis to plug our other shows?
Of course not. It's your fucking podcast.
So yeah, go check out everything. Brynn, thank you. This is a lot of really good information. I cannot wait until this episode gets out.
Hell yeah. Obviously, subscribe to our Patreon, but also follow us on all of our social media. We have Twitter. Check us out there. And Brynn, is there anything should we have her tell us Twitter?
Yeah, follow me on Twitter at Train of Unicorns.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again for coming on. I hope that we get to share this with everybody soon.
Yeah.
Because this is a fantastic episode. And everybody, all for our listeners out there, y'all have a wonderful evening, day, morning, night, afternoon, lunch, whatever.
Continue existing, having fun.
There you go. We'll see y'all later. Bye now.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.